Hi, how's it going? This is Mark, and I am in my kitchen actually. And I just noticed that, uh, yeah, I kind of matched the room. It's kind of cool. Um, anyway, I'm doing my reading from the Golden Present. These are the daily inspirational readings by Sri Swami Satchidananda. Sharing these for 365 days, started on December 21st of last year. So thank you for listening in, and I opened the book for the date for today, having not looked at it ahead of time, and then just share after I read. So here goes for February 23rd. The heading or the topic is Have That Complete Trust. And this is set up in a question and answer format. So the question, how can you know if another person is telling you the truth? Swami Satchidananda says, until you positively know that he is telling a lie, trust that he is telling you the truth. If you always look at that person with suspicion, even the truth will look like a lie to you, because that is what you are looking for. If you are constantly looking for lies, even the truth will look false to you. Have that trust. Even if all of a sudden you come across a situation where someone seems to have told a lie, don't immediately jump to that conclusion. Investigate well. Things are not necessarily what they seem. Make sure that you understand the situation correctly before drawing conclusions. Okay. Um, well, I'm making an effort in these to keep these focused on universal truths and universal principles. To do my best to not how do I put this? I don't know if I verbalized this quite yet, but to to focus in on controversial topics from a one-sided perspective, but to kind of keep more of a universal overview on things. And I do that as a practice in my own life as best I can, and I do that in general with all that's going on. So, of course, I couldn't help but to think of certain things that are happening right now and how it has occurred to me at different times. Like there's information that will come our way that comes to us from a source that we trust, that we would otherwise have to assume is getting the information firsthand, then sharing that information secondhand, possibly even third hand, fourth hand, etc. We generally would assume that it's not like the telephone game where after it's passed through the many different channels, the information gets changed around. We want to assume that it stays accurate. And I think what also can happen is that we can get information that we like the version of what we're hearing, and that will fuel this part of us or fuel that fire in us that wants the information to be such a kind of information. And I've definitely seen myself get pulled into that, not just in our current world situation, but in life, things with work, things with family, things with in my community. There's something in the Yoga Sutras that's called right knowledge, and that's one of the different ways of one of the five basically forms of mental modifications or five states of our mind can be in, and one of them is right knowledge. Some of the other ones I'll just touch on them all is there's right knowledge, there's misperception, there's verbal delusion, there's memory, and there's sleep. So these are all the different mental modifications, things where our mind can be, resting in one of those 5 places. And then it breaks down the right knowledge into different ways that we receive the right knowledge. I'm not sure I'm going to remember them all right now, but I know one of them is that we getting it firsthand. Our own eyes saw what happened, so we know. Another one is from a reliable source. Another one is from scriptural writings, from somebody who we believe is someone whom we trust, a leader. And what I appreciate about that in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, how these are written about, is it does help me structure things so I can make a reference about am I experiencing truth, and how can I navigate through to find what is true, versus where am I bringing in my own misinformation or misperception, or where am I believing verbal delusion, where things are being said that just can't possibly be real. Like, there were millions across this area, when you're like, but the picture says there weren't, or the many different things that seem to clearly be not the correct information. So it's challenging when I was thinking about some of the things that are going on right now, and how other people who want to believe, well, let me just put it this way. There are times when we just want so badly to believe something in such a way that we will invest so much of our own ego and our pride and our sense of self into something that nothing can shake us from it. It said something about that. Kind of like if you constantly, if you always look at that person with suspicion, even the truth will look like a lie to you, because that is what you are looking for. If you constantly look for lies, even the truth will look false to you. And I guess what I wanted to say too is, and if you just full-heartedly believe what you're hearing as the truth no matter what, even though it is a lie, you may hold on to it because your ego and your pride are wanting that story. You're so committed to a certain story that even though you'll hear things that are on the contrary or would demystify, that information, you're like, nope, this is still what I believe. So that can be very scary and challenging when that's something that's going on. How then do you move towards what really is the truth, and whose role is it to help us discern that? Ultimately, it does land with us. Ultimately, we have to go into our own kind of internal compass, our own moral compass, to be able to recognize what we believe is right, and to accept the fact that there are going to be many people who are going to believe that you're right is wrong, and you're going to believe that their thinking is wrong and you're right. So until there's some other equation here, it seems like things could be stuck. And one of the ways that I've thought about this for myself is, of course, using these tools like from the sutras to really break it down for yourself. Do I really know what's going on? How much can I really know this is what's true? How much am I fueling the flames of that? And what information might be missing? What don't I know? And how could I find that information? Could I talk with someone who believes differently than me and have an actual conversation rather than going in with an agenda, that I'm right, they're wrong? It's just that ping pong game. They'll just go back and forth and back and forth. And, as I've heard a saying, is it better to be right or to be happy? And to move towards that happiness, sometimes we have to surrender a little bit and seize that grip of our rightness, our righteousness, to be able to let the other side feel like they're heard. So I know what I do in these instances is take this on a small scale and see where, when it's something difficult and big like this that challenges me, I try to take it on a very small scale. Where in my life and in stories do I feel like I'm holding on and resisting something that actually could be true, and I'm not wanting that to be so? Knowing that that small scale is a tool to move me into being able to see how this pattern works on other areas of life. Sometimes I make references to the larger picture when I'm trying to comprehend a full picture. Like can prayer really be effective? And I think about people who are praying across the world and like that energy and like, yeah, so that's cool. So if I say a little prayer for my plant here to grow, is that going to be helpful? All right. This is now 11 something minutes, so could see I'm going off on topics here because this is a good one for me today. Hope it is for you, and thank you for listening. And I'll say goodbye and see you tomorrow. All right.